Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining us today in today's live lecture coming to you from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is Nkwo Market Day in the Igbo lunar calendar and 9/29/25 in the foreign Roman Catholic calendar. Remember, the reason we are giving you both calendars is for you to know that we Africans, we Igbos, we Biafrans have our own calendar before the arrival of the foreign colonizers in our land. Also, at Nkolo Mahadum, we always advise you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call Akonuche in Igbo language. Also, we are primarily set up. The reason we are set up is to give you the correct information, the correct education, the correct direction from the miseducation, misinformation, and misdirection from the colonial masters and their institutions and stooges in our land. And that's why we package and present our lectures from the Igbo man, from Biafran and African perspectives, the way you should be seeing things. You see things from how it concerns you, not how it concerns other cultures. And therefore, join us because we are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And like, comment, and share. Share this lecture to all your friends and well-wishers. And the title of today's lecture is The Analysis of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu Trial of last Friday, 9/26/25, which shows that justice may be denied. That trial of last Friday, 9/26/25, in the Federal High Court shows that justice may be denied. And that is why we want you to know what is going on. That is why you should join us to understand what is going on and why we are thinking from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University that justice may be denied. Because in that trial, according to Vanguard newspaper, the lead defense counsel of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu Agabi, was asking, why continue this case? Why should we continue this case? Because all this time that the federal government presented 5 witnesses, those witnesses, they failed to adduce any credible evidence to nail Kanu. There's no evidence that they provided. All of us were witnesses when those 5 witnesses were being interrogated in the courtroom. And in all the questions, if all the questions asked was 100, in 95% of the questions, they say they don't know. 95% of the questions that were thrown to these 5 witnesses that FG called, 95% of them, they say they don't know. Which they don't have any evidence. There's no evidence to continue this case. That was why Kanu late counsel advised the federal government to close this case in no case submission, to rule this case in favor of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, because FG did not present any evidence to prosecute, to nail Kanu, and to continue the trial. So that is why we are asking, why are we continuing this case, just like Agabi was asking in the courtroom that day? And they say that there's no evidence even to show that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was inciting violence. There's no evidence. He only told the people to defend themselves, which is their right. Self-defense is a right. It is a right. And so there's nothing to continue. That is why we are thinking that the continuation by Justice James Omotosho, saying that the no case submission, that the case should continue, that he shouldn't rule in favor of Kanu, that the case should continue. That's why we are thinking that there's chances that justice will be denied. That is why we are presenting this lecture to you, because Justice James Omotosho refused to close this case and postpone the case to October 8th, 2025 for Kanu Council, for Kanu and his council to present their case, to present their defense. What are they presenting? Why the FC didn't present any evidence with the 5 prosecutors called? What are they continuing to present? And so that is why he made this adjournment to October 8th, after the prosecution led by Chief Adeboyega Awomolo was accusing Kanu of engaging in terrorism that led to the killing of about 170 security men. You are accusing him, but there was no evidence when you called your 5 witnesses to the table. That was why the defense counsel advised James Omotosho, the judge, to close that case at that point, because there was nothing to continue to try. And we also want to use this lecture to refresh your memory what Kanu is fighting for. Nnamdi Kanu, with the indigenous people of Biafra, is fighting for self-determination, asking for a referendum as enshrined in the UN Charter and African Charter, which Nigerian government is a signatory to those charters. And remember, it is because of this self-determination that Russia is now fighting in their special military operation in Ukraine, because the people of the Eastern Donbas region wanted self-determination. They did a referendum, and Ukraine government refused to give it to them. So what Kanu is fighting for is generally accepted all over the world as being his right. And so he should be given what he's asking for. Also remember that on September 11, 2017, when this case was going on the first time from 2015 up to 2017, when Nnamdi Kanu was preparing for his court case in Abuja on September 11, 2017, the Nigerian army invaded Kanu's house, trying to kill him, and they killed more than 28 people, including a dog called Jack, and Kanu was able to escape. That action alone have rendered any court case invalid and lacking without locus standi. For the Nigerian military to invade Kanu's house to try to kill him while he was trying to prepare for the case in Abuja rendered any trial after that irrelevant and invalid. And so, plus the extraordinary rendition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu by illegally bringing him from Kenya, violating all the international laws, drugged him, beat him up, dehumanized him, put him in a plane to Nigeria. Also prevents Nigeria from trying him anywhere in Nigeria. They don't have any local standing. They don't have the foundation to continue to try Nnamdi Kanu. And now the judge is also saying that that extraordinary rendition should not apply in this case. That's why we are afraid. Because if the extraordinary rendition, which a court in Kenya have ruled that it was illegal, is not applied in this case, then something else is fishy. Something else is fishy if the extraordinary rendition, which is the main violation of Nigerian government on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, is not going to be included in this case. That is why we are saying that justice may be denied. Nnamdi Kanu's house was invaded. He was extraordinary rendition from Kenya. Why are we continuing this case? Why are we? And so what we are saying here is this. Why are we continuing this case? This case has already been, Kanu has already been discharged and acquitted on October 13, 2022. All these terrorism counts were all dismissed and acquitted. Why are we starting this case afresh again? Why are we starting it afresh? The appeal courts have already ruled that Nnamdi Kanu is free to go on October 13, 2022. So why are we still, in this case? What are we trying to achieve? Now, remember the IPOB leadership led by Chike Doziem have maintained that they stand on the October 13, 2022 appeal court judgment that released, discharged, and acquitted Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The Directorate of State, the IPOB leadership, that is where they stand on that judgment. So now that this case is continuing, and the federal government called in 5 witnesses, which cannot prove anything, which didn't come with any evidence, and the late counsel, the defense counsel, Kanu Agabi, and his team were asking for this case to be shut down, to close this case, that this case is of no value to Nigeria and to anybody else than to follow and obey the internationally accepted self-determination referendum, which everybody, every society, every tribe, every ethnicity is free to ask for and get. Why don't we stop this case? And now, after Aloy Ejimakor decided to continue this case, now that Aloy Ejimakor and his team decided to continue this case, what is going on? What is going on? Because when Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor and Osekome were handling this case, they also stood on the judgment of the appeal court of October 13, 2022. So now that Aloy Ejimakor and others, Maxwell Opara, are now saying that they have to restart this case again, what are we benefiting? What is going on? Why is the extraordinary rendition not part of this trial? Why is the army invasion of Kanu's home on September 11, 2017 not part of this trial? That is our question from Kolomahad Wisdom University. That's our question to you, to Aloy Ejimakor and Maxwell Opara. Why? Because we are afraid that in the past, Aloy Ejimakor have publicly said that all activities of Simon Ekpa are being done on behalf of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, which is a total lie. Aloy Ejimakor has also said, who is that Chike Doziem, implying that he is not in tandem, he's not working in pari passu with the Directorate of State, IPOB leadership, led by Chike Doziem And also recently, last few weeks, video was circulating where Maxwell Okpara was saying that DOS my foot, which means these lawyers are not working with the IPOB leadership. They are family lawyers. And family lawyers are not qualified to be leading, to be in front of a case as important as this Mazi Nnamdi Kanu case, which require political solution. Because all these things you are seeing going in the court is drama, is pre-planned. Everything supposed to end with political settlements because the people, the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, needed self-determination, needed referendum, which is enshrined in UN Charter. And so, what are we doing in the courts that we cannot get correct justice from Justice James Omotosho? And if Nnamdi Kanu was surrounded by people like Aloy Ejimako and Maxwell Okpara and others who doesn't work with the IPOB leadership, which means they are family lawyers. They are working for the family, right? And if you are working for the family, which means you are not part of the struggle. You're not part of those asking for self-determination, which means you don't even know what Nnamdi Kanu is fighting for. So you shouldn't be there. You are just there confusing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. That's why we are feeling that he will not get justice. Because when lawyers who are representing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not working with IPOB leadership, it means that justice may be denied. And to make the matter worse, Nnamdi Kanu's siblings is also quarreling with the IPOB leadership. How can you be quarreling with IPOB leadership when Nnamdi Kanu is IPOB and IPOB is Nnamdi Kanu? The strength of Nnamdi Kanu lies with IPOB, not with the family. And that is why these siblings of Nnamdi Kanu are making very grave mistake. They're supposed to be working with IPOB leadership because that is where their strength is supposed to come from. Any correct judgment, any respect, any accolade being given to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is being given to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu because of IPOB, indigenous people of Biafra. And for the siblings of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to disassociate themselves, to disconnect themselves from IPOB leadership is a very, very big mistake. And so what we are saying is that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should sack all those family lawyers. He should sack them because they are not working with the ideology, with what IPOB wants. They just want Nnamdi Kanu to be selfish, to take something and be selfish and come out of the DSS custody and jettison and stop agitating and stop asking for self-determination and referendum, which is what IPOB is standing on. And that is why we are saying that all those family lawyers, Aloy Ejimako, Maxwell Okpara, and others around Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should be sacked immediately so that IPOB will now select lawyers that are capable of delivering, giving them self-determination, referendum as enshrined in the UN Charter. And the federal government should also stop this case, because if the prosecution team led by Adeboyaga Awomola is saying that Nnamdi Kanu made people or led to the killing of 170 security men. How about all these terrorists in northern Nigeria who have killed so many Nigerian military people, who have killed so many people in Nigeria, which are being pardoned? They are being pardoned. They are being rehabilitated. They are being engaged in a meeting to solve the problem, not in jail. They are not in DSS custody. Those bandits and terrorists in the northern Nigeria that have been killing people in Benue, in Sokoto, in Katsina, in Jigawa, in Zamfara, in Kaduna, in Borno, in Yobe, in Sokoto, in so many parts of the north, and even in the south. How many of them are locked up? How many of them are in DSS custody? Are we not in the same one Nigeria? So Nigeria doesn't have any reason. They don't have any local standing to continue this case. That is why we are afraid that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu may not get the needed justice because he hasn't killed anybody. And before we continue, we have to ask you again to please join us, subscribe, like, comment, and share this lecture. And also go back to our previous lectures because we are here to package and present information, present these lectures from the Igbo man, from Biafran and African perspectives. How you should be seeing things. You should be seeing things from how it concerns you, not how it concerns other cultures. And in this case, we are trying to analyze the last trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu of Friday, 9/26, 2025, that shows that justice may be denied. Because this case is not supposed to continue. Why are you continuing the case? According to Kanu Agabi, why are you continuing the case? The last 5 witnesses you called could not provide any evidence. And most of the questions you are asking them, they don't know. If they don't know the answers to the questions, then where are you getting the strength to continue the trial? That's what we are saying. That Justice James Omotosho will have accepted that no case submission and close this case and allow Nnamdi Kanu to go. That's what we are saying. There's no evidence. No evidence that Kanu was inciting violence. Asking people to defend themselves is their constitutional right. Every human being have a right to defend themselves. That's why you should keep this guy in this solitary confinement. Why should it continue? And then Justice James Omotosho is saying that this case must continue, and he adjourned it to October 8th after the prosecution counsel, Chief Adeboyaga Awomola Sam, have said that the terrorism charges of Kanu led to the killing of 170 security men. And we are saying, how about the killings of security men, Nigerian army, even Nigerian citizens? Many of them kept homeless, killed and kept homeless by Fulani herdsmen terrorists. How many of them are in jail? How many of them is being tried? Instead, you are negotiating with them. You are having meetings with them. That is unfair. You are rehabilitating them and giving them money. So how can you put that two together? And what we are saying is that this 7-count terrorism charge have already been discharged and acquitted by the appeal court on October 13, 2022. They've been acquitted. And what will refresh your mind, why Kanu left? He left because Nigerian army invaded his house on September 11, 2017 and killed 28 people and their dog, and Kanu was lucky to escape. I hope that is part of this trial, because you say you are going back to the starting point. It should be part of this trial, because with it, Nigeria have no case in this trial. Nigeria have no case. That's why they should close it. And now, we are now hearing also that the extraordinary rendition, which is the illegal and international violation of the law to bring Kanu illegally from Kenya to Nigeria, is not going to be part of this trial. And we are asking, what is Aloy Ejimako, Maxwell Okpara, and all the sons in the legal team doing? Are you sleeping on duty? Why shouldn't they be? That is the main thing that rendered federal government's continuation fruitless. Extraordinary rendition, violation of international law, is one of the things that made this case irrelevant. It should be part of this case. And we are saying, now that the lawyers were changed from Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor and Ozekome to now starting from Aloy Ejimako and Maxwell and others who want to continue this case, what are we doing? It's been about 3 years that you took over. Haven't Nnamdi Kanu been released? What are you waiting for? What is going on? Why can't this case be stopped with no case submission? Because all the witnesses called by FG didn't say, have no evidence. And we are saying that for Aloy Ejimako and Maxwell Okpara to be disassociating themselves from the Directorate of States by badmouthing the IPOB leadership and not working with them shows that they are working for the family. And then Nnamdi Kanu is not for the family. What brought in Nnamdi Kanu to the DSS detention is not family issue. It is self-determination, asking for referendum, championed by indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. So Nnamdi Kanu is IPOB. IPOB is Nnamdi Kanu. So when the lawyers representing Nnamdi Kanu is now walking away from the organization, asking for self-determination, then what are they doing? They want Nnamdi Kanu to compromise, to move away from the struggle, to leave the DOS and IPOB and be on his own and get freedom. That is why we are feeling that Nnamdi Kanu may not get justice. The justice we are talking about is the justice that will continue the self-determination, the referendum, which is the main thing that led to the situation that we are today. That's what we're saying. And we are also using this lecture to advise Mazi Nnamdi Kanu siblings to know that what brought Nnamdi Kanu to where he is today is not the family. It is self-determination and referendum being asked by the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, by the people of the former Eastern region, and even more. That is what brought Nnamdi Kanu to where he is today, not family. So when you are doing family, you are jeopardizing Nnamdi Kanu's and IPOB situation, and you should refrain from that. You should remove yourself from it. You should come back and start working with IPOB leadership, so that you can have the necessary momentum to achieve the self-determination and referendum that Nnamdi Kanu is asking for. And we are saying that Nnamdi Kanu should sack those lawyers that are now representing him as family lawyers. The family lawyers are not in tandem. They are not working hand in hand with the IPOB leadership and with the IPOB ideology and what they are asking for. They are not. So you should sack them and bring in lawyers, fresh lawyers, which will be working with the IPOB leadership, which will help to achieve the self-determination and referendum that you, Nnamdi Kanu, is asking for. It's very, very, very important. And we went back to say that the prosecution counsel, Ademoyaga Awomola, saying that Nnamdi Kanu engaged in terrorism that killed 170 security men. And we are saying, how about all these Fulani terrorist bandits which are killing people all over Nigeria? They're killing Nigerian citizens. They're making them homeless. They're killing security people. Why are we not prosecuting them? Why are we negotiating with them? Why are we rehabilitating them, giving them money? Why Nnamdi Kanu, that have done nothing but asking for self-determination and referendum, is being kept in DSS custody? That's what we are saying. Why are we not being treated the same way? So we at Nkolom Hadum, we stand with the Defense Counsel of Nnamdi Kanu asking for no case submission. We are still asking Dr. James Omotosho to end this trial as quickly as possible in favor of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, because he has done nothing wrong. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. Thank you very much for joining me today, and have a very, very good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.